welcome to another episode of Miss B Reads. I'm Miss B, and today I'm very excited to start a brand new book with you all. We are going to be starting chapter books, and this first chapter book that we're going to read is going to be really fun because it has great characters and a great story. Let's get started. Hello, scholars. I am so excited today because we are reading a brand new book. We are actually getting into a chapter book, and the book that we are going to be reading is the Stories Julian Tells. This book was written by Anne Cameron. Let's get started. The Stories Julian Tells, written by Anne Cameron and illustrated by Anne Strugnell. There are 6 chapters in this book, but today we are going to start on chapter 1 because there are 6 different stories. Pudding like a night on the sea. I'm going to make something special for your mother, my father said. My mother was out shopping. My father was in the kitchen looking at the pots and the pans and the jars of this and that. What are you going to make? I said. A pudding, he said. My father is a big man with wild black hair. When he laughs, the sun laughs in the window panes. When he thinks, you can almost see his thoughts sitting on all the tables and chairs. When he is angry, me and my little brother Huey shiver to the bottom of our shoes. What kind of pudding will you make? Huey said. A wonderful pudding, my father said. It will taste like a whole raft of lemons. It will taste like a night on the sea. Then he took down a knife and sliced 5 lemons in half. He squeezed the first one. Juice squirted in my eye. Stand back, he said, and squeezed again. The seeds flew out on the floor. Pick up those seeds, Huey, he said. Huey took the broom and swept them up. My father cracked some eggs and put the yolks in a pan and the whites in a bowl. He rolled up his sleeves and pushed back his hair and beat up the yolks. Sugar, Julian, he said, and I poured in the sugar. He went on beating. Then he put in lemon juice and cream and set the pan on the stove. The pudding bubbled and he stirred it fast. Cream splashed on the stove. Wipe that up, Huey, he said. Huey did. It was hot by the stove. My father loosened his collar and pushed at his sleeves. The stuff in the pan was getting thicker and thicker. He held the beater up high in the air. Just right, he said, and sniffed in the smell of the pudding. He whipped the egg whites and mixed them into the pudding. The pudding looked softer and lighter than air. Done, he said. He washed all the pots, splashing water on the floor, and wiped the counter so fast his hair made circles around his head. Perfect, he said. Now I'm going to take a nap. If something important happens, bother me. If nothing important happens, don't bother me. And the pudding is for your mother. Leave the pudding alone. He went to the living room and was asleep in a minute, sitting straight up in his chair. Huey and I guarded the pudding. Oh, it's a wonderful pudding, Huey said. With waves on the top like the ocean, I said. I wonder how it tastes, Huey said. Leave the pudding alone, I said. If I just put my finger in there, I'll know how it tastes, Huey said. And he did it. You did it, I said. How does it taste? It tastes like a whole raft of lemons, he said. It tastes like a night on the sea. You've made a hole in the pudding, I said. But since you did it, I'll have a taste. And it tasted like a whole night of lemons. It tasted like floating at sea. It's such a big pudding, Huey said. It can't hurt to have a little more. Since you took more, I'll have more, I said. That's a bigger lick than I took, Huey said. I'm going to have more again. Whoops, I said. You put in your whole hand, Huey said. Look at the pudding you spilled on the floor. I'm going to clean it up, I said, and I took the rag from the sink. That's not really clean, Huey said. It's the best I can do, I said. Look at the pudding, Huey said. It looked like craters on the moon. We have to smooth this over, I said, so it looks the way it did before. Let's get spoons. And we evened the top of the pudding with the spoons, and while we evened it, we ate some more. There isn't much left, I said. We were supposed to leave the pudding alone, Huey said. We'd better get away from here, I said. We ran into our bedroom and crawled under the bed. After a long time, we heard my father's voice. Come into the kitchen, dear, he said. I have something for you. Why, what is it? My mother said out in the kitchen. Under the bed, Huey and I pressed ourselves to the wall. Look, said my father out in the kitchen, a wonderful pudding. Where is the pudding? My mother said. Where are you boys? My father said. His voice went through every crack and corner of the house. We felt like two leaves in a storm. Where are you? I said. My father's voice was booming. Huey whispered to me. I'm scared. We heard my father walking slowly through the rooms. Huey, he called. Julian? We could see his feet. He was coming into our room. He lifted the bedspread. There was his face and his eyes like black lightning. He grabbed us by the legs and pulled. Stand up, he said. We stood.